What is up, everybody? Thought I would put together. Actually, that is a lie. What's up? It's BarrowsBOY, and you guys suggested that I make this video. This is a little insight into how I organize my bank. It's a bit of a bank video as well, so that's probably somewhere in the title. But the main purpose of this video is going through my bank and talking about organization. Because a lot of you, after seeing my glorious bank and all of its non-tabby goodness, are like, oh my god, tell us how you do that. And I guess that's not as obvious as I think it is. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. I don't have much. This will kind of be, I feel like this will be the closest bank video I've ever made to my very first one. My very first bank video, so long ago. It was like one of my very first videos, probably like second or third video. I am very young, probably 13 or 14, very prepubescent, and I talk. Every little item gets a spotlight, and we talk about it. So we're gonna go through that right now. Kind of the same thing. Cash, top left. It is the item you most often are withdrawing from your bank. That's pretty much it. Real simple. It goes top left. The other nice thing about having cash up there is runes are next. That's the thing, at least for me, I feel like I am taking out of my bank the second most often. And there happen to be, how many across is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there happen to be 17 types of runes that you want to have in your bank at any given time, at least if you ask me. Pure essence, air, water. Normal people have earth runes. I happen to have lavas, fire runes, and then of course everything else. Runes are just organized in just kind of a, mind rune, just ascending order kind of deal. Nothing too crazy there. The next thing I have is currency and large amounts of, literally the shanty passes are up here because it's a convenient spot for them, but I could very easily sub them out for something like trading sticks that I have down here. Any other type of currency that's used somewhere else is honestly more fitting up here. Trading sticks would be much more at home up at this top of the bank, but just the other types of currency, because this is the top of the bank, this is where the currency is, so put it there. And keep in mind that the theme when you're organizing your bank, in this video, by the way, is going to be so very scatterbrained because I have no plan. We're just going with the flow. If you are organizing your bank, the main thing you have to consider is how you get things to fit where you want them to, and making sure that, you basically have to do things in eights. Or in some case, we'll get to it, but if you don't do things in eights, you need to have things that make up for it. And you can kind of see down below where that's happening. But 8 is the magic number. So the next line here is staffs, and this is not something that I would exactly recommend everyone do. It's one of those things that like I withdraw pretty often for Magic, but it's just something I've done for a really long time. The bronze axes are literally just a tool. Kind of goes along with this little section here. It's just tools that I use often. Again, it's putting stuff really high up that I feel like I'm going to be using pretty often. Next comes potion and herb lore. I have always done it this way. I've always crammed everything in as much as I can. I've never been a person who's had like every single dose of potion. I've never had the luxury of having that much bank space, nor have I ever really wanted to have that much. So I have 4 dose and 3 dose for a couple of these potions in here, based on the fact that I sometimes make the 3 dose ones myself. That's not as much of a big deal in 07 now that decanting is free at the GE. But it was earlier on when you'd have to go to Narda, and that's a little bit out of the way. But I really should upgrade my super potion area to 4 doses, because there's really no reason to have 3 doses anymore. I have to buy 4 doses every time I go off and make super combats, so I honestly should probably change that. It's something I should do, and plus it would match with the 4 doses up top and the 3 doses down below. Again, just potions I use on the regular. If I found another 8 potions that I wanted to stick up here, I could obviously do that, but I didn't. So we have a bunch of herbs here, and again, a lot of this is, when I did first organize my bank, a lot of this was just kind of like, let's just put it all in one place and see what fits and see what doesn't. And then when I was 1 staff short, it was like, okay, let's throw some bronze axes up there. There's a lot of mixing and matching just to make things work, and it makes it impossible when you want to change things, because if all of a sudden I have another herblore secondary I want to throw up here, well, I'd have to either find 7 more, including that one, or remove one and swap it out. So It does get a little gets a little complicated if you want to change things, but if you get things set in stone the way you want them, it's all good. And again, the not again, but one of the main things about my bank and one of the things I really like about my bank is that I have everything I will ever possibly need. It is rare that during a quest or during, just daily activities, if something strange comes up that I have to do, chances are I have it somewhere in my bank to do. And that's like where you get into this like skilling section of the bank where I have every secondary I could possibly need for high level potions. Obviously, having white berries and catentines is kind of an important thing because of that elite clue scroll that makes requires you make a super defense. So instead of having to go to the GE to buy those ingredients, I can just boom, do it. And that's a Shia LaBeouf's lovely phrase. Just do it is something that's very very important in this. I don't want to have to go to the GE to go do something. I don't want to have to waste that time. I have whatever it is I need in the bank, and that's always nice. So moving on, it's this got this little herb seed section. Pretty much every relevant herb seed. Again, you only have room for 8 of them in a row. I don't even know if there are 16 herb seeds. I'm sure I could like improvise and put some different types of seeds there, but for all intents and purposes, I picked the ones that made the most sense. So yeah, basically from Irrit to Torstals, and there might be something missing in here, but they all are organized, by the way, in ascending order. Marentals to Torstals, and here from Irrits to Torstals. Real simple. Moving on to jewelry, we've got the 3, and this is where like organizing things when they don't come in 8s is really important. I used to have a 4th mold up here, but then Slayer rings came around, and so I chucked that mold. I think it might have been like a bracelet mold or something like that, and decided to sub it out for Slayer rings. But you got 4 gems, 4 molds, and then you've got the 4 rings, and then of course the enchanted versions down below. Real simple. Here's where things get a little even more complicated, where you've got ores and bars, which obviously there are only 6 main ores. I could have tin and copper, but that's one of those things that as a high level player, if I need one, yeah, I can go to the Shanty Pass, buy a bronze bar, I can go to the GE, whatever I need to do. So it's not as necessary to have that. Certainly something I never run into, but you never know when you need an iron bar for a quest or something like that. So I do keep iron in my bank. And of course you need it to make steel, so that's always a thing. But obviously there are only 6 that end up matching up here, and just kind of have them matching up like that. And then to fill in that space, and again below it you have arrows and bolts. These are all things that I will probably, chances are I'll need to use at some point. We got, of course, Emerald Bolts E for going to Corp, Ruby Bolts E, ever useful at God Wars, especially Armadale. Not so much anymore, really, but used to be at the very least. Diamond Bolts, same thing, and of course Broad Bolts, and then above that you have Iron to Dragon arrows. And a lot of that is hoarding. I certainly don't need to have every type of arrow, but why the hell not, right? It goes into the hoarding aspect of my bank. And of course, on the right over here, we have logs in ascending order from left to right, top to bottom. And again, that's just to, you got this perfect amount of logs here. We could make, you could make a horizontal column of logs, since there's 8 of them, eight like standard types of logs. Teaks and mahogany is not necessarily something you might consider common, but I get them often enough from drops that they have a home, and that makes that little section end up working. Moving on, this is like, if I was still PKing, this would be the most active section, probably up to like the kite shields. I don't exactly PK in Ghostly, but I like having Ghostly in my bank for some reason, so that's here. All the rune stuff is, just filtered into this area. Then we start getting into this. The rest of this bank, I'm going to be honest, is far from what you would want to what you would want to put in your bank. This is where things get messy, and it's where things get, I guess, more personal, because a lot of this section doesn't make sense. There's, kind of this like weird construction slash crafting little like 7 items here, but like all throughout here, there's just like random bits of jewelry. There's just clue scroll items that, starting like around basically the mystic hat, it's just like clue scroll items, and then D-hide over here, which are also clue scroll items now. But it does just get kind of confusing at this point, and things don't necessarily start fitting. They're all not in one category. There's a lot of stuff here that's just it could be here. There's this plank section, then you've got like, here's some crafting stuff, some balls of wool, trading sticks, random eggs that just, they fit there, why not? You get into a little bit of farming here, and then like, let's put all of our buckets here. Then you've got the rest of the miscellaneous jewelry up here. I feel like I used to be keeping a row of amulets up here, but I think that might have been a really long time ago. I'm not actually sure. Then of course all the rares from all of the all of the holiday events, and then you get into like purple sweets. Let's just round out the rares and make sure they can stay because there's only only 15 of them. So hey, purple sweets, welcome. You have a new job. Lava dragon stuff. This is like Chaos Fanatic and like just DK talisman drops that I've picked up. The ever growing silver ore stack that will never ever ever be sold. Then you got some just random God Sword shards in here. Again, like gold rings and ring of visibility, they had no other home, so here they are. Slayer staff. I didn't even know I had Slayer staffs in my bank, but I guess I do. I don't need either of these items, and now that I see them in my bank, I really want to move them somewhere else. Not that I would know what to put up here, but that's something for me to consider sometime in the future, I suppose. Skill capes. These are a nightmare. Every time I get a new one, I gotta chuck it in the bank, and then everything gets off-centered. Tellies. The rest of this is just junk. It is all stuff that typically won't move. So your bank will eventually, as you just start using it, it's really hard to just organize everything perfectly, and it's why people like having junk tabs in their bank. I personally don't like the tabs. I know I'm crazy, but I like the look of the bank without them. That's just me. The dogs are about to bark, so just be ready for that. But yeah, this is all effectively junk, and it could all be sorted. There could be a PVM tab with stuff like this. You know, it's all just sorted into its own thing. And again, as I was saying, all of this stuff has a placeholder for the most part. So you're not going to see stuff up here that I'm taking out very often. This all stuff has a home, and it just kind of stays up here. I don't think I'm going to need my bull roarer anytime soon, but in the case that I do, it's here. But I don't plan on taking it out very often. Down here, you get into Zulrah stuff, starting from the Jar of Swamps to about probably the Spirit Seeds, and of course my Jar of Souls, because I am a jar man, apparently. You filthy jar man. So there's that. Again, and this is all like PVM, more PVM, more PVM. You get down to about where does it stop? About the uncut diamonds. That's the end of the Cerberus loot that starts kind of just mixed in here. And then it's just even more junky. I mean, here we're getting into like occasionally I'll pull out this villager crap to look like an idiot. Sometimes I use Darox. You got pieces of Armadillo. There's a fucking cat in here. There's my extra abyssal head. There's just all sorts of random garbage from here on out because this is all stuff that I pull out on a regular basis. Box traps could certainly find a home somewhere higher in my bank, but I haven't found it, so they're down here. But everything pretty much, except for these fucking fried mushrooms that I got from Anku's on a task, those can go. Pretty much everything starting with the Desert Amulet. I obviously never runecraft. Come on. Everything starting at the Desert Amulet and down is either finding itself stacking because of certain drops that I haven't ended up getting to the GE yet, or I'm withdrawing it from my bank actively and using it pretty frequently. In the case of the D-axes, those will find a home. Again, I don't exactly have room in like my little dragon equipment section, but they'll find a home eventually. Them living there is not a big deal for me. It's not hard to manage like a full screen here of stuff. You got the search feature for a reason, let's put it that way. But that is it, guys. I hope that gives a little bit of an insight into how I organize my bank. Just decided to throw the OS Buddy overlay up there. Just over 900 mil total. I personally don't see it. OS Buddy does have some issues with the bank price check, and I'm sure if you've hung out in my stream, you've heard me say things like that because we go from our Fury that I had being worth 128k to the 10.9 mil that the kit is, and then the 2.8 mil that the Fury is, and so that's a pretty big change. Of course, the Onyx Amulet, which looks amazing, by the way, is basically a Fury. Might as well be a Fury, and it's only valued on OS Buddy at 120k. So there's little things like that that don't necessarily adhere to like their actual value. So that's worth keeping in mind when you're thinking about my bank's price check. There's obviously some things here that are overvalued as well. It goes both ways, but for the most part, I would imagine that you tend to, a Kirill's top being worth 30k. That's certainly not true. A Guthan Spear being 60k. Things like that. Pretty much all my Barrows is not worth what it actually is. So I would say around 900 and I don't know 40 if let's say 940 Makes sense. That's gonna do it, guys. I hope that I don't know. I hope I helped. This video is really long, but I hope I gave some insight into how I organize my bank, and I at least now have a place to redirect those of you in my stream who are wondering how the fuck I do things. So, thank you so much for watching. As always, you can catch me live on Twitch all the time, all of the places. I appreciate you guys for watching and hanging out all the time. You make my dreams come true. See you guys later. That was a really horrible. You make my dreams come true. Wow, what a fucking. Wow, just okay.